Hey everyone, welcome back to B&A Panorama Podcast, episode 12. Apology in advance, my voice is a pony, a little hoarse, because as you saw on our Twitter, this weekend was a little bit wild, had some good school spirit. Go check it out. It's a pretty good picture.
That was an unbelievable pun.
Thank you. I know, I really tried my hardest there. But if you go and check on Twitter, you're going to see me with possibly a cute outfit on, some would say. And today's,
Coconut bikini.
leave for the viewers to find out. And today we're going to be talking about some stuff that is going to make a lot of people maybe a little uncomfortable. And it isn't the type of stuff that you'd like to sit around a water cooler and be talking about. And I'm just going to kind of start off with that story, Adam, that I wanted to tell you about my trip to Disney World, and super uncomfortable story that no one wants to talk about, my trip to Disney World. So when I was about 9 years old, I ended up going to Disney World, and it was my first time going to Disney World. Super excited. And the whole entire week we had our, little guest book. You have all the characters signing their signatures. So I had Goofy and, Mickey Mouse signing this little thing.
You had the real Goofy sign? That's
The
pretty
real Goofy.
crazy.
I know. I even got Cinderella's. Oh, I was the hot stuff there. And so the whole week having a great time, little 9-year-old Brandon wearing the shades and plaid shorts, just rocking it as hard as I can. And the last day of the week, I guess, we went to Magic Kingdom to top it all off, which was probably the best experience so far. Like, it was kind of crazy. And at the very end of the night, once a week on Friday, they do a super special fireworks show at Magic Kingdom where they have all of the princesses at the front, and then they have like a big pyrotechnic show where a bunch of smoke goes off and fireworks. They have like a bunch of guys ziplining from Magic Kingdom onto the ground. It was a big deal.
It was because you were there, right?
Because they saw me, they saw I was there, and we're like, okay.
Anyways.
And as I was sitting there with my family and we're laying down on a blanket, and I think everyone else was, it was like a big deal. And we're all looking up at the skies, watching the fireworks go off. And I just remember thinking to myself in that moment, staring at the stars and the fireworks and going, I wonder what happens after you die. Like, the most uncomfortable thought you could possibly ever have as a child or a person. And I was having like a great experience so far. Not a single thing was going wrong. And I just thought, is it like this after you die? Like, do you just sit there staring at the stars and it's like fireworks and there's just stuff happening? You don't really know what's going on, but it's kind of great, but you don't really know. And so I turn over to my mom, who's having a time of her life with her 2 kids and her husband, just paid a ton of money to go on this vacation, making sure her kids are, not
having a great time and aren't thinking about dying.
I just remember turning to my mom and going, Mom, what happens after you die? She went from like super happy to like, oh, what makes you say that, Brandon? Like, as if I was having a midlife crisis at 9 years old. And she's like, what made you say that? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just thinking. I'm just looking up at the sky, and I was thinking, like, what happens? And she told me that, oh, you're so young, you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about that for such a long time. You're going to be living your life and doing whatever you want. You don't have to think about that. And I don't know why, but that stuck with me for a while, actually. Just thinking about the idea that I'm not supposed to think about it, or that like a lot of people don't think about that going forward into their lives. I mean, I'm 20, you're 20 as well, soon to be 21, old man. And I think, we're starting to think about that a lot more. I don't know about you, Adam.
Well, yeah, I feel like a lot of people our age are, especially, but I also think it's interesting that we associate thoughts of just overall death with depression. Like, maybe I'm just alive, thinking about these things. And like any normal person with a consciousness, like, we all think about these things, don't we? I just find it hard to believe that every morning some people just like, or just every night morning, nobody ever, or you just never think about that? Like, I know we all know we're gonna die, but do we really? We just kind of push it to the back.
Well, I mean, if we're 20, 21 years old, we don't really have to worry about falling asleep and not having to wake up. I mean, obviously some people might, but for us at least, we know that if we go to sleep, we're just worried about how much sleep we're going to get. And we don't have to worry for another 60 years at least about our final days. And we just kind of keep pushing it off, like you said. And it's a really uncomfortable feeling, like death. Like even the brain can't comprehend death. You know what I mean? Like in your dream, if you die, you either wake up because your brain can't comprehend what happens after death because it can't experience life after death within like the physical world, or you either don't die in your dream and you just keep dreaming.
There's always those people that are like, no, I actually died in my dream. I'm like, no, you didn't. Like, you just didn't.
Yeah, I know what happens after you die. It happened in my dream. All right, man. It's really, really good evidence right there. I should believe you. Some 19-year-old that just got done getting plastered telling me about their crazy existential dream.
But it is like definitely labeled as you, like the go call a suicide hotline or something. And it's kind of like, I don't know, that never addresses the actual problem at hand, because I think the people that feel this way can actually use it for our better. Because, you know, if you know you're going to die and like it does like resonate with you, then I think you'll live like you're going to die. I mean, right? I would just, correlation here.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of why I thought that in Disneyland or Disney World, I guess, because I was like, wow, this is so great. When am I going to die almost? Because I want every day to kind of be this type of feeling. And I think, like you said, a lot of people kind of push that off and they don't use the feeling of existential dread or the finite amount of time we have and actually use that to like fulfill themselves or actually get purpose out of what they want. And so they just kind of end up doing nothing really for a lot of their time.
Or, I'm sorry, or they say with the pessimists, they do think about that and that's all they think about. And then it just overcomes them. And then they just become, nobody likes to be around a pessimist when the world's ending. And, nobody wants to be around that guy that goes, I told you so. It's like, come on, man. Like nobody wants to be around that person.
Especially
So there's this weird balance.
Yeah, especially with 2020 and COVID. So many people were just like, I knew this was going to happen. The world's doomed. Humanity sucks. Like, I hate life. Like, you don't want to be hanging around that person 24/7 that's telling you how awful life is.
That's why I never hang around you. Or nobody wants to hang around. Oh, wait. Well, I don't know. After his outfit attire last time, we'll have to.
I had a readjustment this weekend. I had a mental readjustment.
Yeah.
Living for the moment better.
Yeah, you're like, you know what? I'm gonna die eventually. Here we go. Let's just.
The rest of the day, I had people asking me, "Are you the guy in the bikini?" And I was like, "Yeah, that was me." And they're like, "That was awesome, man!" A bunch of people,
bro.
Yeah, a bunch of people were super hype about it. But stuff like that, like people are so afraid to do anything. In high school, I remember, I don't know, like at basketball games or football games in the stands, so many people are so above like chanting or doing stuff that makes them look a little goofy because they're so afraid of looking stupid because they're
That's
like, oh,
so lame.
People are just going to remember me for being that dumb person yelling in the crowd. Okay, that's better than being remembered for the guy in the back that was saying how cool he was for not doing anything
or just ripping on everything.
Yeah,
nobody likes that. That's not fun. Why don't you bring solutions and not just all problems? Personally, that's my philosophy. We should point out the problems because there are plenty of them, but we also should try to find solutions, because what good is it to just bitch and moan about problems and not have solutions? And so the antidote to life, I mean, let's face it, man, life is a struggle and life kind of sucks sometimes. There's a lot of death, there's a lot of destruction, everything that you can imagine, and so you can become a pessimist off of that. And maybe, people have been there. I think a lot of us have been there at one point. But the antidote to, and this is scientifically proven, the antidote to not be a pessimist is to find meaning in your life. And, obviously that varies to everybody, but the main thing is just to feel an impact in whatever you're doing. I don't know. I think there's some people working jobs where I just think if they took a chance and realized they were just going to die anyways and just said, hey, you know what, maybe I should go down this career path that I really wanted to do. And I think if I put my mind or really put the effort towards it, I could achieve that. And even if you didn't, I feel like whatever you would end up in, you would still enjoy because you would be doing something that you enjoy.
I think when you're talking about how everyone, has to struggle, and I think that kind of does connect to that leap of faith that people need to take to kind of step out of their comfort zone and go after something they want or break the mold of what they've been doing. I think a lot of people have crazy, awful stuff happen to them. A family member gets sick, you lose someone that meant a lot to you, and your whole perception of the world is just kind of shattered. I mean, really, it could be when you're 11, when you're 21, when you're 36. Literally, it happens to anyone at any given time. Some random event happens and you lose someone, or what you thought the world was like just shifts. I think in that moment is where you breed the sort of next level thinking and way of living, really.
Pain is the source of wisdom.
Yeah. I mean, if you're living your life in a mediocre way and you're kind of just content, which there is absolutely nothing wrong with living content and happy with your life, because that's a good thing if you're happy. But if you're sitting there and you're kind of just like not sure what you want to do with your life, or you're kind of in a purgatory of should I do this or that, when those moments happen, it pushes you a certain way that shapes you for the better, I think, most times, or for the worse a lot. It makes you a lot worse a smaller percent of the time than it makes you a lot better a more percent of the time. Bad grammar, you get the point.
You're either getting better or worse. And if you're already at your lowest of low, you're most likely going to go up, is essentially what you're saying, right?
Yeah. I mean, for me, when I was going to Northern or about to leave for Northern, a lot of shit hit the fan for me. And you kind of start reaching a new low, like, damn, this might be the worst part of my life. But you start to think differently. Like, well, this is a pretty great time right now. Or I should start pursuing this because this is going to pay off a lot better and I'm really enjoying this. And even if this bad thing were to happen, I would still be able to enjoy this. Like, really, the podcast is a great example of that sort of thinking. Like, I know me and you, spoiler alert to anyone who, might just be listening to this and none of the other ones, but this is kind of a development of our sort of trauma in the past of stuff happening to us and different experiences throughout life, just culminating to us talking about it on a podcast, which
good and bad, by the way.
Good and bad things. Yeah. It's not all just, life's a struggle
Traumatic.
all the time. Yeah. I mean, you need to take the good and the bad. You can't just focus on the good because then you're an idiot.
Well, that's what social media does. And you take all the good, you see all the good, you don't really get the crust, which nobody likes the crust of the pie, but you got to have the crust of the pie.
Kim Kardashian's life is so perfect if you look at her Instagram. And why is she filing for a divorce?
Yeah.
Clearly things aren't so great at home if you have to file for a divorce, but Instagram says you're living your best life.
Elon Musk says similar, actually. He deleted Instagram. I deleted Instagram. I just feel like Instagram is the worst because, well, Joe Rogan said this, but people post pictures of themselves and they're, oh, no filter. It's like, man, come on. Like, we all know you look good and you aren't doing a filter, and it's all just a big humble flex, and we all see it. And then they feed off the comments.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
oh, it's so good.
Yeah,
you think I look so pretty? I always think of girls on Instagram on that stuff. Yes, girl, slay me. Oh my god. Oh, you're a queen.
It's fake though, because you know what's funny, and then they'll go back and be like, oh, she's such a bitch. What's that funny video where the dudes, or what's it where the guy's leaving and they're like, see you later, dick face. And then he leaves and they're like, oh, he's a cool guy.
And then the girls are like, okay, queen, see you later. And she leaves and they're like, God, I hate that bitch so much. Like, not to gender discriminate, but, you know, our audience is mostly men. But, you know, it is a true thing that, like, a lot of it is very surface level on social media. And Bo Burnham talked about it. I don't know if you remember me talking to you about Bo Burnham.
Yeah, I do.
And I showed you that video about social media, and he said it's a competition 24/7. We're all competing to be better than everyone else.
It doesn't
Whether
have to be necessarily a competition on, to me though, it just feels like if I'm going to post something, should be meaningful. And
yeah, and a lot of people don't do that though. In a sense, they think it's meaningful to post themselves looking pretty because they want other people to see it. Which,
I mean,
if
we're all
that's-
culprits to this, by the way. We've
oh, we're not
all
above
like,
it.
yeah, exactly. I've done it before. And
If you look at my Instagram, I'll post some stuff. I'll
oh,
say happy
okay.
birthday
Plug the
to
Instagram. Yep. I see
yeah,
how it is.
but yeah, got a humble flex on everyone.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll put the bikini picture on there, huh?
Yeah.
No, but yeah, man, I think Instagram and everyone on these social media platforms is actually a perfect example of everyone evading the thoughts of existentialism.
That's exactly how it feels. It feels like it's just like one huge like example of how it feels when you're in high school. Well, Childish Gambino says life is just high school and you just have to learn to get over it. But
Yeah.
whether you disagree or agree with that, there are some aspects kind of like that it feels like high school because it's like, oh, look what she did or who she was with. And it's kind of like, why do you care? Why are you vengeful? And that's because most people are pessimistic on life and don't get to, some people just eat the crust, which, you got to have the pie too. Otherwise you're going to become vengeful and hateful. And, regardless of what people think of Jordan Peterson here, I know he's been labeled as an alt-right or in some of that ridiculous stuff. And he doesn't mention any of that. And that's just ridiculous. But the thing I took away from Jordan Peterson is to make your bed and clean up your room, because you're not above that. Because if you don't make your bed and don't clean your room, that means that you think, or you're just like subconsciously putting yourself above that in a bad way. So then that leaks into what you eat for, lunch. Then maybe you're not taking care of yourself then because, I'm above that. I'll just eat like crap, whatever. Then that goes into your relationships. You get sloppy with everything. And so he said something really interesting. Aim the bar low. People aren't aiming low enough. I love that. I've never heard that before. Really, aim the bar low enough and be a humble servant, or at least recognize you're not necessarily too good to make your bed and stuff like that. It just seems silly or why we don't do it. But again, if you start to do that, I think that builds on top of it into your job, like we've said, and in a good way, if you do that. And so that stuck out to me. Aim low enough for yourself.
Well,
Could be something as simple as just like I said, getting out of bed on the exact right time that you want to be out of bed instead of hitting the snooze 10 times. But been a culprit of that.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you aim low enough, in a sense, it means that you're going above what your plans are, but it's also setting realistic expectations for yourself, really. Setting goals that are unattainable in a realistic timeline, you're just going to fall apart. Like if I set a goal to run 26 miles by the end of this month, Lord knows, God knows, I am not going to be running 26 miles in a day at the end of this month. You got to be more realistic with a lot of your goals, which I hate saying be realistic because it sets like a narrative.
Yeah. Because then it's like, well, what's realistic then?
Exactly.
Because then but it's all in steps though. Like if you got to set the bar low enough while also having a separate bar. Obviously it doesn't mean just, well, here's my life. Just make my bed, clean my room, go to my job, go home. No, it should hopefully leak onto the other stuff that you do.
Yeah. I mean, I listened, what you said about Jordan Peterson, his comment about cleaning your room and stuff, it reminded me of a podcast I listen to called Real AF with Andy Frisella. And he brings this up every now and then about how important it is to wipe your piss off the toilet seat. And how if you miss your shot while taking a piss and you can't take the 3 seconds it takes to just wipe it off and clean it up for someone else to use next, that little amount of time and effort and the amount of mess and grossness you're leaving behind, it shows that you aren't able to take care of yourself or others if you're not able to take the 3 seconds out of your day to clean up the mess you made, which is the same about, cleaning your bed up and cleaning your room, which I'm a culprit of not doing lately. I need to do better at that. So maybe I need to set the bar lower, start cleaning my bed more.
You're putting yourself above that. I've done the
Yeah.
same for most of my life. I didn't make my bed most of my life. I still sometimes forget, but I try to make a conscious effort to do these things. And also, when you start to do these things, that gives you personal responsibility, which is the antidote to pain and suffering, is to have personal responsibility and meaning. And if you keep doing the right things, well, then you're probably going to be doing what you enjoy. And have you ever, oh, you've heard this. When people say you're in the zone, and people feel like they're in the zone, that is scientifically proven to be meaning you're in the optimal space to like tap your potential. So when you feel like you're in the zone, remember like what you're doing and what you did that day or how you like prepped yourself mentally, because that is physically the optimal maximization of personal growth. This is a personal growth podcast. We haven't necessarily touched on it too much. We've kind of talked about other things that tie into it, but this is my first time, getting to talk about this. And this isn't just me either. And I'm not even trying to preach to anybody. This is more so just between us two in a conversation. All these things are scientifically proven through several studies of rigorous, through colleges. So these things are physically proven to work. And, I'm going to bet on the analytics and the time of, human history. But with that said, that's the main thing, that, the life sucks, pain, suffering. The antidote is responsibility and meaning to your life.
I mean, really, yeah. You just got to, if you look at someone who kind of is a pessimist, they're messy people most times, and they just don't take care of themselves. Because the first step in going above and beyond what makes you happy and gives you self-fulfillment, you have to be responsible for yourself and take care of yourself. I humble flex here. I wrote a paper actually in one of my classes about ethics, about how selfishness is seen as a bad thing, but at a certain point, you have to be selfish. You have to take time out of your day to help yourself out. Rather than putting everything above yourself and thinking that you're above taking care of yourself because you're so great that you don't have to take care of yourself and you're just there to help others and do other stuff. Maybe you can, but at a certain point, to find true, like, kind of self-fulfillment and feel at peace with yourself, you have to take care of yourself and figure out what you want to do throughout the day that's going to give you the most self-fulfillment and self-responsibility.
You know how sometimes you feel like you are enjoying something, or it's like, wow, like this is awesome. They do say, because a lot of people, including myself, we've all thought this, like, well, then what do I want to do? What do I want to be is the stereotypical question.
Mm-hmm.
And the constraints to that, you can box yourself in a little bit based upon, there's several factors here. First of all, public school system, majority of us went through that. Majority of us were told, graduate high school, go to college, kick the debt, get a job, pay the debt back. A lot of people haven't paid it back. We only have $1.8 trillion worth of debt. It's kind of it's a big chunk. And so that, I think, constricts a lot of people, but there are still people that are creative and want to do things. And even if you do want to go to college and get a job, like the majority of people, which is, obviously dope, we're both going to college. you still got to do what you, yeah, as corny and cliche as this sounds, you got to do what you really want to do. Because, and they do say you'll feel it. There's some things that we can't describe in words. It's just impossible. There's a certain feeling, and if you start feeling that when you're with your job and you're getting fulfillment out of that, that they say that is, then you know you've found like a purpose and a passion. And that it, because you notice what the people that enjoy and just love their life and day to day, enjoy their job, enjoy like their family for the most part, aren't pessimists. Like it's impossible to be pessimist, and obviously, I mean, it's a paradox. You can't be pessimistic and happy.
Yeah, because you're
But
always
you also
pointing
have to
out
be
the
able
bad
to,
stuff.
you also got to be able to point out the problems though. And so there's just weird balance that it's just like, to me anyways, at this age, it's just a lot of what I see is older people, and it's really hard to find an in between. Like, you've met the older person that's very pessimistic. We all have, back in my day, we used to blah, 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 all that. Or, and then, the older people that I found that are happy are honestly genuinely like pretty financially well off. Not saying rich, but I'm just saying like usually they're smart with their finances and stuff. You don't have to make a lot of money to be happy either, but like you're just like being personally responsible. So like you do have enough money to retire and stuff. And that takes away anxiety and all that stuff, because it's like you have enough money to be relaxed. But for people our age, we've all done this. We've all are, well, maybe not all of us, but I know for myself anyways, I've woken up before and kind of thought like, what am I doing with myself right now, man? Like, you know what I'm like, it's just like, I got to do something or make something meaningful or provide something that is of value past my death. And it's not even like selfishly like trying to just be like iconic and like be a star. It's more so I just want to help others make life easier for other people, because as we already discussed, life is difficult, life sucks. So if in my purpose for me personally is to be a humble servant to like my community. And so whether that's speaking through this podcast, whether that's working through Mission Association through Rough International, those are ways that I'm trying to give back to the community that will hopefully last beyond my time and continue to, and then hopefully other people work off that. It's just like compounding and building something worth dying for, literally, because we all are going to die. So you think about it like this: we all are working jobs, and is it worth dying for? And if you answered no, I'm like, I don't know. I've definitely had to go through that myself too, right? What do you think?
There's definitely some jobs that I feel like people can enjoy and get meaning out of, but maybe an accountant wouldn't go, this job is worth
You don't
dying
think so?
for.
I'm
I
just
think
kidding.
I think some
I'm just
account
kidding.
I would say with confidence that the majority of accountants are probably like,
I've actually mentioned this, but accountants have the highest suicide death rate. So actually, the majority of them don't probably enjoy. Well, there are some accountants that enjoy their job, and I'm not saying that you would die for your job, but I'm just saying like if you died, like would you be like satisfied with what you were doing at the time? Like, where do you think you were doing something impactful? Right? That's kind of what I'm saying. And I guess that could get jumbled into the dying for wherever you work for. I mean, would you die for your football team? Let's put you on the spot right now. I'm just kidding. He's thinking about it though.
I put
He
my
really is. I mean, you do kind of sacrifice your life every time you're out there on the field.
There is always a chance when you step onto the field, not to get all preachy, like motivational, like Friday Night Lights about to give the speech to go rally everyone.
Woo.
But every time we step onto the field, there is a chance you won't come off. Or you might not walk.
So you are, I guess, you are. I mean, honestly, I definitely know the team atmosphere, and I think a lot of people would like. I mean, you are basically going as far as sacrificing your life potentially, but it's like, man, like let's do something. Let's just do something worthwhile and make it like, whether if you're on a team, man, the reason why you want to die is because you want to be that's how bad you want to be successful. Like you're willing to put your body out there, and so that's like the same thing. Let's do something that finds meaning in our lives and something, like I said, if you died and you were theoretically, and this is really weird, but if you died and you were able to look back at yourself, yeah, I don't know. It just seems a little
Would you be
pessimistic
satisfied?
and sad to be looking back on that with regret.
Well, that's the thing is they've done studies that people at the end of their life, no matter how accomplished they are, or they maybe didn't do anything with their life, regardless of their situation, a lot of people, when they're dying, they always have regrets and they're always never satisfied. They either want to keep living to see something through, or they want to keep living to maybe make changes, or they wish they could go back and do everything differently, or maybe do some things differently and some things the same. I think part of it is your day to day mentality. You have to think about it like, if I have to make this decision again, will I stick by this in the future? If I want this job, should I stick? If I were to decide between this job or going somewhere and doing something else, like, I don't know, you could either go for the rest of your life and live in Nicaragua and, help out there and live there, or you could stay in America and continue pursuing something else at a job that's a desk job. And there's a little bit more security in that. But at the end of the day, 30 years from that decision, when you look back, would you make the decision over again?
That's
Whether,
exactly what I think about. And that's kind of thinking, though, like knowing you're going to die. Based upon that, let's make our choices.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of bad things in life, but there's also good things that can come out of bad things. A lot of maybe bad decisions, good memories can come from those within. You can make a bad decision and have really great memories, but overall, the ending taste in your mouth is really bad. But if you had to make it over again, would you make the decision the same exact way, knowing how like ends up because of the way you grew as a person and the people you met and how you grew, like you changed for the better or for the worse, I think is really when you decide, if I could do it over again, would I do it the same way? And I think that's why, if you have a day to day mentality of that, if you're growing and trying to learn and just enjoy the moment, when you look back, you would do it all over again. Like, I try to think that I would do it all over again, no matter how crappy it was, because what I got out of it is what I wanted. And if it wasn't, I learned from it. Because if you don't make any bad decisions, you don't know when to make the right decision.
Wow.
I mean,
You're
really.
dropping all kinds of quotes here.
I guess. I don't know. I have a big speech on my notebook
Yeah,
written
yeah.
down. Like, I
You look
spent the
like
last month like writing down this
you
big
look like Dwight
speech,
Schrute right now. You need to just start like from The Office.
pounding down.
Yeah.
We will bleed for our people. Rah! And everyone's, cheering and
Yeah.
getting super into it.
Well, that's people right now as they're listening to that. But
Well,
anyways, that's true though. It the way we view, like you said, it's the approach to the day to day, and also to the understanding that millionaires, and you don't even have to be a millionaire, people that enjoy their lives probably didn't necessarily do it in one day, a week, or a month. So
yeah. I think to start wrapping this up, a sort of not tangent, but the topic that I kind of want to go off on here to build off that is the relationships we build with other people through all of
I
our
was just thinking
decisions.
that.
And all of the decisions that we've made have led to us speaking on this podcast. And whoever hears this or decides halfway through that they hate the shit we're saying, it's all a result of the decisions that we've made up to this point. And then you have to think to yourself, if I personally myself had to do all of my decisions over again in my life, would it lead to this? How much enjoyment do I get out of this? Which I get a ton of enjoyment. I love this. I absolutely love doing the podcast and the time that we get to put into it and the people we've met and the way that we've grown just from starting this is so important in the like moving forward, the importance that we're getting out of this, I don't think I would change anything that's happened previously in my life, because it would ultimately lead to most likely this not happening. And I think that's why a lot of people are in a situation where they think, God, I would give anything to not be here right now. If I could be somewhere else, it'd be amazing. And then you look back with regret, thinking I should have done everything differently. I think people, in order to kind of find that self responsibility and self fulfillment and kind of battle against that feeling of, we're all going to be dead one day, the relationships you build along the way mean a lot more than people give it credit for. Because if you make a lot of relationships along the way, and some might not pan out, but there are a lot that are going to help you in your worst times. And if you just need someone to talk to, making those relationships along the way of your decisions are going to help bring you to the next level. Whether you're in sports, finances, college, anything, entertainment industry, music, movies, whatever you're doing, the decisions you make and the relationships you build with people, you might burn a few bridges, but ultimately, if you made enough good decisions and you made enough decisions that led you to where you are, hopefully you've made enough decisions where a relationship that you've built over time is going to kind of bring you back up and go above where you were before.
That was good stuff, man.
Thank
I
you.
don't have much to say to that. I mean, I'm serious. Like, that was pretty good. I'll end on one thing here, and I guess I'll try to make this fitting. We are all alone. We're born alone, and crazy enough, we're in a coffin when we die alone. And so, knowing that we're all alone, we need to understand, or to me anyways, when I'm pursuing the future here, careers and stuff, it's just, I always just think it's super valuable to create relationships that are worthwhile, because we're all just trying to figure out life together here. We're all together in this. We're all human. We're all people. Well, I think you're human, but anyways, you know, try not to, a lot of people just ditch everything to be successful and leave all the relationships, and then they end up just being alone and suffering. But um, let's just, I love everybody that listens to this a lot. If you're still listening, that's, this show stinks, as Pat McAfee says. So, but no, thank you for listening. I mean, that's all I really got to say. That's kind of a relationship that we're cultivating right now. So,
Yeah. Well, with that being said, everyone always remember to be great. We build different. Catch you on the next one.